Hey, how's it going?
Hey Jake, how are you?
Good.
Everything is good?
Yeah. Just finished up a podcast
Yeah,
and here I am.
very good. And have you been talking much about the new record from Periphery?
Yeah, I have been for
Yeah.
like the last month.
How has been the reactions? You're a musician, you make records. Uh, Probably the last thing you want to hear is people just saying how shit the record is or something. But
Yeah, I can admit that I don't want to hear that, but it can happen.
well,
Um,
it's not the case of this record anyway. So, or the other ones, by the way.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like we would never put out anything that as long as we like it, that's enough. But it's the icing on the cake is like when people react well to it. And the three singles that we put out so far have been getting a good reaction. So I'm pretty happy to report that it's going well.
Yeah. And, speaking of this record, the songwriting process, obviously we had a pandemic, which threw a curveball to a lot of people, especially for, musicians. Normally, you guys like to hang around in the studio, work together. I don't know if in Periphery case that would normally happen, but how was the songwriting process? Was any different from the previous ones?
Sort of. At first it started off like normal. We thought that kind of going in the way that we've done it in the past would be the way that we would do it for this record. And so for like half of the amount of time that were writing, we were kind of doing it where like me, Mark, and Misha would write all the instrumentals, and then we bring Matt and Spencer in to kind of help us arrange the songs and kind of like make them ready for vocals and stuff. But um, what ended up happening is like we all kind of got our chance to be in the producer chair when usually it's just the three of us. So uh, we ended up scrapping a bunch of songs kind of like midway through and retooling the ones that we really believed in. And it was a bit of a tough process, if I'm completely honest about it. It was when we realized that we didn't really have the record we thought we did, kind of starting over in a sense was a bit of a tough pill to swallow, but the record is better because we did that and we took the time to kind of really take a close look at what we were doing and trying to refine our process to make a follow up to Periphery 4, which we kind of all regarded as like, all right, that, if we can make it as good as Periphery 4, then we've succeeded. And we didn't have that, and midway through, and then we kind of fixed that, and I think now we have a better record than Periphery 4. So I'm glad we did it. I'm glad that even though it was tough, I'm glad that we spent time with it.
And having the frame of mind that okay, you have briefly four, with what which was an amazing record.
Thank
Having
you.
that in mind, to make it as good, did it take the focus or put the pressure in you guys that you kind of lost, a bit of what you guys enjoy anyway of making?
Yeah, that's a good observation. I think like that's an important thing to not try to dwell on too much and just enjoy the act of writing music. I mean, the main reason we all are in Periphery together is because we enjoy working together. And it can, when you run into a situation where you're like trying to focus on making the best album you can, you really do run the risk of kind of taking the joy out of it. And there were moments where like a few of us were like, damn, what are we going to do? Like, this is not fun like it usually is. And that's not to say we didn't have fun. Like there was definitely moments that were just a blast. And when we finally got our, on that kind of final stretch of writing and we realized, okay, now we do have what we're looking for, then that the troubles kind of got erased. But um yeah, it's you can most definitely do that if you're not careful. And we were very careful.
Yeah. Are you guys your own worst critics, so to say? when
Yeah, I think it's that way for a lot of artists. And it can it's good that everybody kind of has their own sort of investment in the music. So like if somebody's feeling down about something, another person can be like, "Oh, don't worry, man, we'll fix it. Like, come on, let's work on this together." And it's kind of like this sort of we take a family approach,
Yeah.
and we all care about it as like it's part of the music is part of the family.
Yeah. But when you're working, obviously you guys had time to, as you were saying, you scrapped a lot of ideas, worked again on other ideas. Is it, comes a time when you're working so long on an idea that you're like, I give up, I just throw everything.
Yeah, that totally happens. I mean, like the one of the best things and one of the worst things about being in this band is that we have an abundance of material. So we end up kind of like trying to pick the best things that we've done, and it can be tough because like sometimes somebody will really believe in a song and there'll be like three guys who will be like, nah, I don't want to work on that one. Let's look at something else. And then, that person ends up being a little disappointed that we can't work on a song that they were really inspired by. And that happens. So it's just, you learn to deal with it. And it's kind of like, I think like you kind of learn to look within yourself and kind of see like what you'll be willing to kind of uh move on from, and what you'll stand your ground on. And I think it's kind of like we understand that we can't all be super rigid all the time about what we want, otherwise we won't make any progress.
Yeah. And, when you talked about having like, a lot of ideas and, probably have plenty of stuff on a hard drive. Do you ever you always work on new ideas, or you go back to some stuff that say have like 10 years old or something like that, and then you realize, wow, this was a great idea, why didn't I use it before?
Yeah, no, that happens all the time. I mean, a lot of where we get started is like taking an existing idea. So a good example is we just released a single called Atropos, and that idea was an idea Misha sent like back in 2016. I remember sitting in my car listening to it, and I'm like, oh, we got to do something with this. Like I wanted that song to be on Periphery 4. And it wasn't in its final state. Obviously, we wrote a lot to kind of get it to the point where it could be on Periphery 5. But yeah, we always go back into the vault and kind of pull out things that that we think have potential. And there's some things in there that are substantially old, like, upwards of like 8, 9 years old, and, sometimes older. And, it's a fun process, kind of like bringing them into our new state of mind. Because, as you progress as a musician, you kind of learn new tools and new things and new approaches and stuff, and kind of taking an old idea and listening to where you were at that point in time, and then taking all the things you've learned. It's almost like a time machine. You can, really uh, change your approach and take something that is that you may have been bored with, or that it didn't make the album cut for a few albums, and then you finally have the state of mind to make it fit on the latest album. So it's kind of a cool process.
And the technology is evolving, leaps and bounds very quickly. And we're going to talk about Atropos because of the video that was AI generated. But when you, as a guitar player, with technology evolving, it's still fun to experiment with sounds, with effects. When an effect comes out, you're like, let me try this, because I think that's the fun. I used to play guitar. I sucked at it really bad. But one of the fun things was when there was like pedals and stuff in the music store, just go there. I want to try that one.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of fun.
That happens to you still?
Yeah, yeah, and even more so these days because we've all kind of amassed a collection of gear that we all kind of experiment with or even rely on. We all have like signature products with our various companies, and it's always good to have like imagine like a mechanic in his garage. He has like all the tools to fix a car. It's kind of the same thing with or even build a car. And it's kind of the same thing with music. It's like eventually you collect this wealth of tools and you can use them to kind of be inspired. And one of the fun, like the most fun things you can do is kind of like look around the room and see what you haven't really messed with that much, and then seeing like, where it'll take you. It's you're basically being like led down this thread of inspiration just by inanimate objects. So it's a pretty fun process.
Yeah, and going to Atropos, AI generated. It's a lot of talk about AI these days with the Chat GPT thing that can write essays that can you know do a lot of stuff. And obviously photography and video are leaning in that direction now as well. People are saying that it's taking a lot of the creative process, or whatever. What was the idea behind just to get the video created in that way?
Yeah. So with the Atropos video, we got the concept pitched by a friend of ours, Rod, and the idea was he was showing us examples of this technology. So it's shot with real footage, and then an AI algorithm is then prompts are entered into an AI program that kind of like superimpose this imagery over the footage that we shot. So we hired some actors, and the footage was shot around LA, and then in post, then this AI algorithm is then superimposed over the footage. So in a sense, it's kind of like a hybrid of like traditional sort of filmmaking, and then kind of bringing in this sort of new emergent technology. And I think it came out pretty cool. It's kind of like nightmarish in a way, and it's the it's interesting because the subject of the video is kind of on the nose. It's like everybody's kind of obsessed with their phones and
Yeah.
everything that's like going on around them, even though the world's kind of falling apart. And it's like people aren't really paying attention. And the whole AI thing is interesting because there is a bit of criticism saying that it kind of like it's like almost like this automated thing that kind of like you don't have to put any effort into, like a computer's kind of figuring it out, which in some cases I imagine that can be true. But I tend to look at it as like it's a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
Sure. um you know it can get to a point where there's no an artist not doing anything, but I think it'll be many, many, many years before it's indistinguishable from human input. So as far as we're concerned, this video, it's more of a stylistic and aesthetic choice rather than like kind of leaning on this technology to make something for us easily, because it wasn't easy to make, and it was quite expensive. And we hired animators, and we hired actors and photographers and all this stuff. And it was for most of it a standard music video process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I see this as let's say I work with photography. We have like LUTs for to create like a color, more cinematic or whatever things. There's plenty of choice out there. It makes our life easier if you want to create, instead of just trying to play with the handles and the colors. We can just apply a LUT and then just fix it a little bit to our taste, and that's it. Guitar players, now with digital technology, you can have John Petrucci can have your sound as well, plug in instead of getting, amp and pedals and trying to find the sound. AI, it's a bit like that in a way. I think that's the way I see it, at least. I might be wrong. I don't know. Or maybe the rise of the machines, it's coming faster than we
I
imagine.
think I don't think like it's an entirely sort of like perfect system. Like there is a philosophical debate that is opened by it, and it does. I don't think that like I'm not dismissing people's criticisms about it, but it's just like you can tell the difference between something that was like kind of like half-assed and something that was, had thought put into it. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the big disaster that everyone claims it will be, but like I really don't. But who knows? I may be wrong, but I think if you look at the progress of technology, everything is like this. Everything is getting easier. It's almost like saying like, you shouldn't use your microwave to make food because making it on like a fire is like the way that you're supposed to do it. And it's just like, no, things as technology progresses, it gets easier to do certain things. And it's eventually going to spill over into the art world. And we just have to know like what we're okay with. So it's a tough conversation, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be the big disaster everyone thinks it is.
Yeah, if something happens like the rise of the machines again, we just call Arnold Schwarzenegger and he'll
Yeah,
say,
he'll take care of it,
yeah,
right?
hopefully he'll be back, So,
Yeah.
and, and going back to the record, Wildfire, the first, the one of the first song of the record, it's quite a journey. The song itself, as that heavy start, then the piano, then we have the sax solo from Jorgen from Shining, and then have that like almost epic, like ambient ending. You know, after after that song, I was like, what a journey. what what was the idea behind this song? How did it start?
It started from an old riff idea that Misha was messing around with. It's got to be like maybe 4 or 5 years old at this point. And we've always thought like, wow, that would be really, really fun to play live. Like it just has like it's so heavy that this is probably like this will be a good live song. And we eventually like started working on Periphery 5. We took a look at this song first, and I think it might have been my idea to kind of bring back. So the chorus references an older song of ours called "The Event" from the Juggernaut album. We were writing these songs. We were like trying to work in motifs from Juggernaut because this was supposed to be a concept record, but I abandoned that idea pretty early on. But we were like, well, we still like the Juggernaut callback, so we're gonna leave them in. So that was kind of like the next step when we had the chorus as the callback to the event. And then we got to kind of like a wall where we didn't really quite know what was going to come next. Like the song, we knew the song wasn't done, but it needed a couple more sections. And it was actually it was the last day of writing for that session. And it was really late. It was probably like 2 in the morning. And I was just like, I had enough. I was like, I'm going to bed. And then the guys were like, yeah, we should probably go to bed. We got a flight in the morning. And but Misha decided to stay up. And like when I woke up, I had to wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go catch a flight home. And he was still working on it when I woke up for the flight like 2 hours later. And he had written that whole like jazz section with like the piano solo and everything. And I'm like, wow, this is like, did not expect this to go there. And so it's kind of, for me, a happy surprise because it wasn't something that I was a part of, but I woke up and like more of the song was finished. So it's like, it's just like a nice little surprise. But yeah, for some reason it kind of works.
Yeah. Yeah, it does work. I think it's, as I said, it's quite a journey. This whole record is quite a journey, and Silhouette, that ballad that kind of serves as a bridge in a way for what's coming next as well. Uh,
Yeah.
how did the Silhouette came about?
So me and Misha have a side project called 4 Seconds Ago. And we work really great together on metal stuff, but we thought we would give electronic music a try, and we put out an album called The Vacancy a long time ago, probably like 2018. And we knew like we wanted one of the writing days for Periphery 5 to be like we just try to write an electronic song. And we thought it'd be cool if it was just like an electronic song and then Spencer would put vocals over it. But when we had an original arrangement for the song, Spencer kind of like had some ideas in his head. So I sat down with him and incorporated the ideas. And then it became a bit of a different sort of vibe. Like it wasn't this very simple electronic song. It became more like a synth pop or like a synth wave song. And yeah, that was kind of like an example of something starting out one way, then somebody hearing something in their head another way, and then sitting down and kind of shaping the song into that. So I'm really happy that one made it on the record. It's probably going to be pretty divisive because
Yeah.
metal fans can be pretty fickle with that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of if if you like all of the sounds of Periphery, the electronic side can't be ignored.
Yeah.
So I'm happy it made it, and I think Spencer made it even better.
Yeah. I a week ago or something, I saw Electric Callboy here in Portugal, and as you might know, it's a very like techno electronic, with heavy guitars and stuff like that. And everybody at the ball, and there were like a lot of metalheads there. They probably won't say they were there, but I saw them.
It is interesting the kind of like the crossover appeal there because um so many metal dudes get into electronic music. It's just kind of like it's like a thing. And I wonder if it has to do with the fact that production is such a important aspect of both styles of music. I mean, production is important for any style of music, but I think when you take a metal guy and who knows how to produce his own music and he's like completely nerdy about it, and then you take an electronic guy who is just as nerdy about his music, there's a lot of like sort of shop talk and sort of crossover appeal and respect because they both kind of like take a lot of technical knowledge to make these things come to life.
Yeah. And music is music at the end of the day. It's and we're going to the title of this record because Djent is not a genre. And one of the things that I really dislike when it comes to music is labels and genres. And I when people say send me a now, it's like post black metal or post rock, post whatever. I don't know what the fuck that means. To be honest, what is that?
Yeah.
It's black metal. It's not black metal. What is it? Why you call it post what? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like I kind of make up the definition in my head just to kind of like fill in the blanks a little bit, but I really don't know what any of that stuff means. I'm just kind of like show me music you like and
Yeah.
maybe I'll like it too.
Yeah, exactly. And for the title, Djent is not a genre. Why do you guys went with that?
I'd say the biggest reason is because we had like hundreds of other titles that we just weren't all happy with. And that was like the first one where we're like, yeah, this might piss some people off. Let's go with that one. But we don't like actually we embrace the whole Djent thing now. Like I don't think we ever didn't not embrace it. It's just, I think it's kind of funny because it just doesn't, we don't really have any connection to it, even though we do, at least personally. Like, I don't like listen to this and I'm like, oh yeah, this is Djent music. I never look at, I'm like, this is heavy. This is pretty. This is melodic. This is big sounding. I never really like I think when you put like things that are too specific on a style of music, you kind of shut out potential listeners because they'll automatically think, oh, that's a Djent band. I heard this other Djent band that I didn't like. So
Yeah.
if that's the same, then I'm not into that style of music and I don't want to listen to it. Because that's the way people are. They like to categorize things so it's organized in their head. But I feel like you really do yourself a disservice because you're not, I think every genre of music has something to offer. Everyone,
Yeah.
And it's kind of unfortunate that we have to categorize these things as humans.
Yeah, for me was, I remember many years ago. They before it was Djent, there was something they called like math metal or something like that. And for me it was like, okay, for me it was progressive in a way because of the all the tempo changes and everything and the heaviness. And for me it was just an heavier side of prog. And I never in my mind like I'm going to call it math metal, or whatever.
Yeah.
I I absolutely just show, as you said, show me the music. If I like it, great. Let's
Yeah.
go for it.
There's like a flip side of it too. Like, if you know someone likes math metal, then you're gonna like be like, oh, I know this other thing that I can show them, So it does work in that it does the door swings both ways in that
Yeah,
sense. But like I also like being surprised.
yeah,
Like a really good example of this is like Misha showed me this artist named Tommy Cash. And normally I would not listen to music like this just because it's just not my style of music. But he showed me this one song by Tommy Cash, and it's amazing. Like I love this song. And, because he didn't tell me like, he didn't say, oh, you want to listen to this hip hop song? Like I didn't create this kind of version of it in my head. I just listened. I had my ears were open. So I appreciate when people just show me stuff.
yeah. Because if they give you a box, you're already thinking about the box and not.
Yeah. It's like shaking the box, like,
Yeah.
oh, what's in here?
And no, quickly going back to the record, Dying Star, it's a highlight for me. Probably because it's a more straightforward song of the whole record in a way. Am I right saying it? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's as complex as any other of the songs that are on this record. And for me, after, Silhouette and listening to that song, it kind of felt like a moment to breathe as well.
Yeah. That's a good observation. I mean, usually like if you listen to any Periphery album, you'll have like those moments where we go in a more rock direction or like a more pop sensibility or whatever. And that's one of those moments. And I really like that song because it references Silhouette. One of the progressions in Silhouette is also a progression at the end of Dying Star. And so not only is it kind of like a more straightforward rock song, but it also does the sort of play on motifs that we have present in a lot of our music. So and I really like the way that the big sort of end chorus comes in and then it ends on that really like isolated solo instrument. I think it's really pretty. So that's also one of my favorite moments on the record. I really love that song.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing I should mention is we all did the choir vocals and for the album, but that's one of the sections of the album where like you can really hear it. And there's probably 9 of us in a room all singing all of the parts. So we did like the main line, we did the higher harmony, the lower harmony. And it's always fun to do that because it's like we don't get to sing that much. So
Yeah. That's cool. And touring plans for you guys, what you guys have in mind or what's planned so far?
So we actually leave for rehearsals in like a week and a half. We're doing a US run supporting Under Oath and Loathe is opening. They're one of my favorite bands. And that's going to be a 4-week US tour. And then we're coming to the UK in, I think, July, like the end of July. I have to look. I might be mixing the dates up in my head, but yeah, we're headlining a festival there called the Radar Fest. And then we have some other things in the pipeline. They're kind of in their beginning stages, so I can't really comment on them yet, but there's more coming. And I think when the record is out,
Yeah.
more opportunities will kind of come to light.
Yeah. I remember seeing you guys here in Portugal when you opened for Dream Theater.
Oh, in Lisbon. Yeah.
Yes. That was years ago. I don't
Yeah, that was over 10 years ago. That was 2011, I think, or
Yeah,
early 2012, something like
yeah,
that.
probably. And
Yeah.
I think it was the only time I saw you guys. I don't think you guys came back after that.
Oh man, we're so much better now.
Well, it was still a great experience anyway. I know there was already a lot of chatter about you guys, back then, and because the technical ability and all that. So, there was the curiosity there. I remember that because my camera, I was taking pictures of that show and my camera just fucked up for, I don't know what happened, but halfway through your performance, the camera just
Oh no.
stopped working, and I was like, no, I still have Dream Theater to shoot. What the hell is going
Did
on?
it ever start working again, or did you get a new
Yeah, I
camera?
did. I just took the battery, and I
Oh,
don't know what I did. I just flipped the buttons, and,
uh,
and
yeah, the old take the battery out trick.
yeah,
Yeah.
we ended up like working again, and I was like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to shoot, and then I'll take it back to the whatever to see what the issue was. But yeah, it was good. Anyway, Jake, thank you very much for your time. All the best
Yeah.
for Periphery 5. Great record, a great journey that this record brings us, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I
And
hope I hope to see you in Portugal again.
yes, hopefully soon. And Djent is not a genre, and for me, it's the way to do it. It's great music above everything else.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
All
very
right.
nice of
Thank you
you.
very
Okay.
much. Have a great day, and hope to see you soon. All right.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
see you soon. All right,
Thank
good
you.
night.
Bye.